So, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name, as said, is Juliet Mpe-Wasego, Head of Science Communication and PR at the African Academy of Sciences. The Academy is a Pan-African organization that celebrated 33 years just 2 days ago. Our overarching aim is to transform lives of Africans on the continent through science. I will be your moderator for the next exciting and engaging high-level sessions. Before I begin, I'd like to quickly recognize the previous speaker, and as mentioned by Prof. Agon, Professor Abegaz was our previous, just immediate former executive director of the AAS. The second thing I'd like to recognize is that he actually, we're here launching the Callistus Juma dialogue, which is such an important venture because Callistus Juma himself was a great science communicator. So people like myself who are science communicators look up to him and we admire him. Ladies and gentlemen, the AS identifies and is addressing critical gaps in science, particularly in the areas of community and public engagement and science communication. As such, the AS is excited to partner with the South African government, specifically the Ministry of Science and Technology and the National Research Fund, to ensure that this forum is about conversations, dialogue, and engagement on science, research, and innovation. With this, I would like to begin on the next session on standardizing the African funding landscape. Join me in welcoming back to the podium the AAS President, Professor Felix Dapare Dakora.
Well, thank you, Madam Program Director, since that's how you like to be referred to. It's really a pleasure for me to be up here, and I just want to add to what Madam Program Director has said. Actually, Callistus was also a very strong and one of the senior, highly respected fellows of the African Academy of Sciences. So to us as an academy, a continental academy, his sudden departure has really left a big hole. It's a huge loss for us as a body, but of course we share him with the rest of the continent and with his very family. Well, we're here at this point in time to celebrate igniting a conversation, and the Science Forum South Africa is about igniting conversations. And we like to ignite the conversation in a different direction. I think, and that is around good grants management, best practices in the management of resources. For those who are a bit older and have been in academia, they will appreciate the fact that one of the barriers for a very long time that actually prevented inflow of adequate resources, financial I'm talking about, grants, that can support research in Africa was purely due to some of the constraints around how grants are used. There was a lot of doubt as to whether we have the ability to use resources that are given to us responsibly. And some scientists in the continent got grants that they could hardly use a quarter of. And the rule of the game is that if you get a grant, you can't use it. Whoever gives the grant takes it back. So basically, that's where we are, and we're trying to rectify that situation. So essentially, the African Academy of Sciences is here to introduce a transformative standard tool, otherwise called the Good Financial Grant Practice. I actually personally would prefer it to be called the Best Financial Grant Practice. And it's created to leapfrog and strengthen the governance of funding on the African continent and the globe as a whole. When people think of research or humanitarian sector, they think of the impact, but not the entire ecosystem that enables impact. At the African Academy of Sciences, we are about strengthening the entire research ecosystem, and which is not just allocating grants for research, identifying gaps in the research corridor, but also trying to ensure that the monies that we actually deliver to grantees, young scientists, male and female, that these grants are properly managed to enable our partners to have total confidence in us and to follow up to continue to support us. Our efforts then are Afrocentric, or call it Africa-centered, and we would like at this point in time to continue to create the awareness that things should be done by Africans for Africa. And that's what this new tool is all about. The Good Financial Grant Practice, which we are about to launch today at the Science Forum South Africa, is part of our strategy to build a strong research system within the African continent. We have developed a new research strategy for the academy, and we hope that by the time we've implemented that research strategy, we will have moved the continent forward in many areas of scientific research. Of course, behind all these novelties in research, there are always individual brains. So I therefore would like to welcome one of the senior advisors at the African Academy of Sciences, that's Dr. Michael Kilpatrick. If you don't mind, can you please, can you clap for him as he comes? Thank you very much. So he is coming to the stage, and he is the mastermind. He is the brain behind this little toy that he's going to talk to you about. And I'm sure he will tell you and convince you that this is the first of its kind, not just in Africa, but in the world. So at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to step aside and bring my colleague to take you through this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you. One of the great things about working for the African Academy of Sciences is you get to do a wide variety of jobs. My job today has been sent to Joburg Airport to collect 4 of the GFGP grantees who were involved in the drafting of the standard, but I can't find them. So if anybody's seen what looks like a GFGP grantee, then please let me know. Oh, I see one. Ah, well done. The other thing is, with my advancing years, I can't hear very well, so I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, which organization they're from.
Hi, I'm Asmenye Kayuni from Malawi.
Hi, I'm Karin Kades from Brazzaville.
Thank you. My name is Babatunde Kadiri from Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, Lagos, Nigeria.
It looks as if we're all going to the same place, to the launch of the GFGP.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, true.
I'm excited about the GFP launch.
I'm also excited too.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that has been developed in Africa by Africans to be used by the whole world.
So we need to say we are proud. Yes, we African, we can do something great.
And I think I've just spotted our 4th grantee. If I'm not mistaken, this is Titus Barmassi from Kenya, from the Sunrise Children's Home. Welcome. Welcome to Kenya.
Hi.
Hi.
Now,
Welcome.
the African Academy of Sciences is world-renowned for the quality of science which it does. So with the true Back to the Future developed by the African Academy of Science, I'm going to teleport you, as we speak, from Joburg Airport to the Science Forum, South Africa.
Thank you.
So please take your seats. Well, you have heard a lot of PowerPoint slides this afternoon, so it's time for a bit of lighter entertainment. What I'm going to spend a few minutes talking to you about now is what we think is a transformational approach as to how people award money should be addressing the relationship they have with those people who receive the money. The problem we solved is a critical one, and that problem is that in this diverse world in which we live, there are multiple grantors, and also there are multiple grantees, many of whom are in the room today. I don't know how many grants the University of Pretoria receives, but I can imagine it's multiple numbers, and it's not untypical for even medium-sized grantees to have multiple grantors. And guess what? All of these grantors have their own pet due diligence approach. So you get inundated with innumerable ways of how to ask the same question. The other challenge it poses is that for the smaller community-based and community societal organizations, they really struggle to have visibility to the grantors. They don't have an environment where they can be visible. The solution we have created, and this has been 3 years in the making, is that we've created a new Pan-African standard of what represents good financial grant practice, and it goes by the snappy title of ARS 1651-2018. We'll talk a little bit more about how the standard came into life. But a standard is no good at all if it sits on a shelf and nobody refers to it. So to bring it to life and make it useful, we'll talk to you about a portal-based compliance assessment system whereby grantees can demonstrate to the grantors that actually they are working in compliance to this new standard. We weren't stupid enough or arrogant enough to sit in an office and write the standard. We actually went out to Western, Eastern, Southern Africa, and this slide is showing the 65 or so finance managers from organizations across 22 countries in Africa, and we asked them, what should be in this standard? You tell us what would make your lives better. So this is a standard which truly has been created by Africans in Africa, but it's applicable for the world. A little bit of detail. Standards are not the most exciting things in the world, but what this standard covers is financial management, procurement, governance, and human resources. The tricky bit, and what we think is quite the clever bit, which we did in the standard, is that grants vary tremendously in size. Organizations who receive them vary tremendously in size and complexity, and there could be geographic complexities in there as well. So the standard is tiered. So it goes from bronze to silver to gold and to platinum. And basically, and putting it rather sort of crudely, small tier organizations, CBOs, CSOs, people receiving small awards would be expected to be compliant at the bronze tier. As you become a more sophisticated, bigger NGO, maybe the silver tier, and the majority of university type sectors should be at the gold or platinum level. In terms of the status of the standard, in June of this year, it was adopted at the General Assembly of the African Organization for Standardisation. In October of this year, Rwanda became the first country to adopt the standard globally. And in the same month, the African Academy entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Rwandan government, who wished to see the implementation of GFGP on a pan-Rwandan basis. We started dialogues with the standards boards of Botswana and Uganda, and hopefully very soon South Africa and other African countries. Even though it's still being adopted by several African countries, because it has been adopted by Botswana, the standard can now be used on a global basis. Going forward, as it gets used significantly outside Africa, is going to support the case for progression of the standard to become a truly international ISO standard. Benefits are, and critically, it increases the opportunity for direct funding from grantors to grantees. At the Grand Bargain Humanitarian Conference in Istanbul last year, they set themselves the target of increasing direct funding to 20% by 2020. The last time I checked, it was at 0.2%, and we've got 13 months before we get to 2020. But using this process, using this tool, using this standard, you can significantly leverage the amount of direct funding which you do. It has other advantages of reducing the frictional cost and the friction between the grantor and the grantee, improves transparency, and a critical and interesting factor is we found as we've been trialing it that typically grantors from the global north, they tend to parachute in rather arrogantly, they rather intimidate the grantee. this is our due diligence, unless you complete it correctly, you're not going to get any money. But because if you've got a standard, everybody's working to the same, it kind of levels the playing field. It's democratized the environment. And the grantees are saying, well, why aren't you using GFGP? Although it's been developed in Africa, during the course of this year, we've been testing it globally from Philippines in the east to Peru in the west. And as I was saying, to bring the standard to life, we have this portal, where I'll show you a little schematic of how it works in a second. And on that portal, people can, or grantees can demonstrate their compliance to the requirements of the standard. Little schematic I'll go through fairly briefly, but if I'm a grantor and I want to make an award to Bahanu, who sat in the front row, so he's my grantee. So I'd invite Bahanu into the portal, and I say, dear Bahanu, I want to make you an award. I think it's probably about a silver tier. Bahanu would log in to the portal, complete his organizational compliance to the requirements of the standard, upload supporting documentation where required. I could then look at those data. So it's a virtual thing. It's a paperless environment. And if I'm comfortable with what I see, then I make the award. I might make some additional grant conditions. A really, really cool USP is that if another grantor comes along and wants to make a separate award but to Bahanu's organization, subject to Bahanu's permission, that other grantor can see Bahanu's responses in the portal. So he doesn't have to do it again for every new grantor or again for another grantor. Downstream, we're developing what's called a certification scheme, which is a kind of technical term for the license procedure that an independent audit company needs to go through before they go on-site to Bahanu's organization, certify his responses were accurate, and all being well, he then becomes certified as working to GFGP. The other thing that the portal does, which the grantees find quite useful, it gives them an understanding of their level of compliance. They've got a kind of percentage score against the requirements, how far they're going. And so they know when they are technically in compliance to the standard, and they then feel ready to invite the auditors in to do the certification audit. We're going to change tack now. I'm going to ask my GFGP grantee colleagues. These people have been involved in the development and the testing of both the standard and the portal. So I'd first like to invite up Babatunde Kadiri.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for this great honor and privilege to share our experience at Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, Lagos, Nigeria. Once again, I'm Babatunde Shakiru Kadiri. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before the introduction of good financial grant practice, our budget has been very low. And working with the team, the good financial grant practice team, we are able to identify our potential area for improvement in management of funds. And our budget has increased from 3 to 5%. We have scaled our human capital development, and this has assisted us to attract more funding from local and international grantors. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to inform you now that grantors now have confidence in us, and there's assurance that funds advanced to us will be judiciously managed and utilized in line with best practices. Thanks to good financial grant practice. Once again, I want to thank you for this great honor and privilege to share our experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Kadiri. If you could have the slide back up, please. Nope, not that, please. Could we have the slide with the names on, please? There we go. So I'd now like to invite Asemeni Kuyuni from the Malawi Liverpool Wellcome Trust School from Malawi.
Thank you, Michael. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, Malawi Liverpool Wellcome Trust has over 30 donors funding different grants. Unfortunately, each donor has its own unique requirements, needs, and standard operating procedure for managing these grants. Believe you me, this has been a lot of work, considering that we've got over 90 active grants, and trying to make sure that we are compliant with all these donors has been such a challenge. With the coming up of the GFGP, we've been tiered up, and we have been streamlined to one assessment and one audit. This one assessment has been shared to other grantors, and we, instead of using multiple audits, we're using that to share with the other funders. In conclusion, Malawi Liverpool Wellcome Trust is excited about the launch of the GFGP, as it has made life much easier for us to manage these grants. Thank you.
Thirdly, I'd like to invite up Corinne Cadez from the Fondation Congolais pour la Recherche Médicale from Brazzaville in the Congo. Corinne?
Excellencies, all protocol observed, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as Michael said, I'm Karine from Fondation Congolaise pour la Recherche Médicale, from Republic of Congo, usually known as Congo-Brazzaville. As you know, Central Africa is sometimes forgotten because of our geolocation, but the GFGP portal is a great opportunity for visibility for organizations such as ours to improve, to understand the requirements for the governments of grants as required by grantors. Organizations will be able to share their policies with grantors, and that will increase their confidence in the governance of grants as my institution. I want to thank the African Academy of Science for the opportunity to stand before this highly panel to share our experience forward to when the French and other languages will be released. I thank you all for your attention.
Thank you, Corinne, and you're reminding me, something I should have told you is that now that the standard's approved and the portal is almost stabilized in terms of its development, as soon as can be done, the standard and the portal are going to be available, not just in English, but in French, Spanish, and Portuguese. Lastly, I'd like to invite Tatas Bamasi from the Sunrise Children's Home in Kenya.
Thank you, Michael. Your Excellency, Mama Loko Kupai, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It gives me great pleasure this evening to stand before you to speak on the impact of the GFGP to thousands of CPOs and CSOs in Africa and in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today, specifically today, to mark the leap of the century through the launch of this remarkable GFGP. Before the GFGP, our governance system at Sunrise Children's Home was ungovernable. Our financial management was weak. Operations and practices which we used to run were below agreeable standards and were costing us, were costing our NOPOCOs a lot of harm. We were straining to meet the needs of the children at Sunrise Children's Home. Graciously, the GFGP tool not only identified our weaknesses, but most importantly, it gave us the right way of doing things, which we believe it will give globally and more particularly to African CSOs and CPOs. We embrace the standards. The standards change our governance system and our financial management. Through the standard, we changed, and we did things the right way. Now, we are graciously reaping the good fruits. The tool gave us confidence to approach local and international grantors, and the impact is huge. We have gained new fundings from not only our local community, who trust us to manage their donations, but from our international friends, whom they have partnered with us in this noble cause. Our children are getting a better start in the work. Thank you to GFGP. Thank you so much for the great initiative you brought. It is really impacting CSOs and CPOs greatly. Thank you.
Thank you, Titus. We've now got a short video. This is from George Adalo from the Slum Child Foundation in the suburbs of Nairobi, and Jeffrey Oshiang from the creative art groups from the Kibera environment in Nairobi, which hopefully will play.
My name is George. I am the founder and executive director of Slum Child Foundation. Before we joined the Global Grant Community Portal, it was very difficult for many people to work with us because our financial records were not clear, and it was very difficult even to share to partners and donors on how to support. After the initial assessment that was done to us, we were able to identify gaps that were there in our organization in terms of the policies. But after we were able to align our financial reports and records to be as per the international standards, we have seen an increment in terms of people willing to sponsor children.
My name is Geoffrey Ochengoyo. I'm a performer. My stage name is Oyo. This is Kibera Creative Arts, Kika, here in Kibera, Laini Saba. The Global Grant Community Portal is a nice place, like a platform where organization can get access to the grantors. It's something that is showing that every coin that you're using with a purpose, not just for the sake of it. It was so simple because we just knew this we are put in place, this we are putting in place. The portal itself is something that is user-friendly. It's very easy to understand. There are so many reasons why grantors can trust us with their money. One of them is accountability.
As we speak now, we have 14 children who are being sponsored. One of the things that have made the number to increase has been the way we are able to present our financial reports to the people who are willing to support children in our organization.
My message to any other organization, especially the community-based organization out there who would like to be visible all over the world, they need to come to the Global Grantors Community Portal.
The visibility after attending the training has really helped us a lot because we have been able to even apply for grants and we've got our first grant that we've been able to receive.
And now that the portal is bringing us to the grantors, we should apply. We should part and maybe subscribe to the portal. Yeah.
As you all know, there's an African proverb which goes along the lines of, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you need to go together. If there's one person who's taught me that profoundly important thing that you need to go together as a community to achieve your objective, is my co-conspirator, my co-worker, my co-senior advisor for GFGP, Mrs. Jenny Kiff from the Wellcome Trust. I'd like you to join me, give a round of applause. Welcome, Jenny. Would you like to take a seat? So, thank you very much. It's a little bit of a preview of what's been a 3+ year journey. We think what we've created, we know what we've created is going to be transformational to the relationships between grantors and grantees. It's going to be transformational in the efficiency of the speed and the strength of the governance of funds. And we truly believe that it's going to be able to transform science because the money is going to flow into the science more effectively. Thank you very much.